think that it's important that we recognize that, like there's always going to be a chance that whatever it is we're trying to connect with isn't going to connect with us in that same way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I
And-
mean, yeah.
And,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, it comes back to, like when we're doing like a step 9, where we're trying to make amends, like we can only take care of our side of the
Right.
street. So we can only go into these situations knowing what our intention is, and their response is their own,
Yeah.
Like, when I think about it, like what I think is, there's been many, many situations where, I've encountered a lot of people, and I'm only like a quarter portion of myself, right?
Sure.
Like, I'm very platonic. I'm not ready to establish any connection that's deeper than that right now, because I don't want you to see how much of a child I am, and B, I don't want there to be a chance that you're going to reject the me that I really am, right? And C, like it's probably going to take up time. This relationship is going to cost me time, and time is valuable, and I don't have much of it, and yada yada yada. So there's all the reasons for me to not connect, right?
Yeah, and I think for some reason I'm thinking of my family. Like my connection with my family is different than my connection with you guys.
Right.
Like,
Sure.
I love them from a distance. Mm-hmm. We talk, but that's about the extent of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell you guys everything. Like when we talk, we talk.
Right.
And
Right.
so maybe I just need to be a little more aware of what kind of connection I'm having with certain people. Like I'm not going to have the same connection with a friend I haven't seen in 10 years
Right.
that I have with you guys
Right.
every day. Like I need to just be aware that this connection consists of this, and this connection consists of all of this.
And it's okay to have moments of connection.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You can
Yeah.
obviously tell that I'm learning more than I'm giving right now.
Well,
It's
this is why we talk about these
yeah, it
things,
really is. Like
like
I really
yeah, like
this is a great conversation for me.
It is for me too, because ultimately the podcast itself is my desire, you guys' desire to connect with people
Absolutely.
that normally
Yeah.
we wouldn't connect with, and that's what we're doing through it. And when I go into the treatment center or anywhere else to go speak, the first thing that I bring up is that I'm going to try to prove that we're connected.
mm-hmm.
That's my goal. And like when Jordan goes out and performs with his band, right? Like he's not going out there to disconnect with the crowd. I don't think
It'd be awkward.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he's trying to connect with the crowd. There's got to be some type of energy that he's putting out there, right? Or
I would say I'm usually like I show up to the venue and I just pick one person and I forget about all the other people.
Is that true? Like,
no, that's
oh,
far
okay.
from the
'Cause
fact.
I was like, that's
naturally, when you put yourself out there and you're open, you find that you are connected to everybody. Like you don't have to look for it; it's just actually happening.
It's there. Yeah, it's
Just
just
there.
fact. Yeah.
There's always
point.
something that you can connect with. God, Simon Sinek, I think I brought it up on the last show or the show before. Maybe it's been a while, but he does that.
Who?
Simon Sinek. He does a little thing, and he says like, so right now, and I'll use this in treatment too. Like when I speak, like right now we're all in the same room. Like we can all say, I'm from Utah, right? Like maybe you're from Salt Lake and I'm from Ogden, but we're like, oh, we meet somewhere, and we recognize that we're both from Utah, and so like let's say we go to a convention in California, and we think we're the only one there, and I look over and here's this guy with a beehive pin on, and I'm like, are you from Utah? He's like, yeah, I'm from Utah, and he's like, I'm from St. George, and you're like, I'm from Ogden. And automatically you're connected because you're from a place, right? And then, like, even though you're both from different parts of the state, right? You're connected because you recognize each other. We have certain values, traditions, things like that go along with being from Utah. Now, let's say we go to Paris, right? And we think we're the only Americans in Paris, right? And then all of a sudden we hear somebody else speaking perfect English. Perfect American, and we're like, oh, you're from America. Where are you from? And they're like, well, I'm from New York. And you're like, oh, I'm from Utah. And automatically you're connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're from the same place. And we'll take that all the way to like galactic travel someday, right?
Yeah.
Like you end up on some distant planet and you think you're the only earthling there. And all of a sudden it doesn't matter what country you're from. Like, you're from Earth? Like, yeah, I'm a human. You're like, I'm a human too. You know, like, oh, because no matter what, we have things that are similar about us, right? As a species, and we can either look for the differences and push each other apart, which is something that I don't want to do. I do that,
Right.
right? I will do that because making new friends is hard.
Right.
It's inconvenient. Like, I got shit to do.
Yeah.
Right? But then when I get in a space with somebody and we're both able to start celebrating our similarities and celebrating our differences and celebrating the fact that we have this opportunity to spend some time together on this rock that's fucking smoking through space around a burning ball of fire. Like, how fucking weird all that is. Despite all that, we're in a moment where time doesn't matter, you know, the bills don't matter. And that's what working with other people does for me. It's one of the things that I learned early on as a sponsor and a speaker and you know, a person that tries to get a message out there, is that when I'm working one-on-one or I'm working in a crowd or I'm in that space of connection, like, my body aches go away.
Right.
You know, I'm not hungry. I'm not worried about the past or the future. You know, that connection gives me energy, and we're vibing on the same frequency to the point where it makes those moments so valuable that I'm willing to seek them again. I'm willing to give up this selfish nature of ego and forego that for the moment of charitable connection with other people. You know, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, very, very, very well said. I think, you know, like, to your point, like, one thing that you talked about was like the energy that comes from connecting, right? Like, there is an energy that comes from you know, identifying and connecting with another individual and sort of realizing that you are on the same wavelength, whether it's because you're from the same planet, the same country, the same state, the same city, like, whatever it is, or, you know, like, because you both identify as agnostic, alcoholic, you know, whatever other labels there are, right?
Yeah.
But you know, for me, that speaks to something on a spiritual level for me. You know, like, we talk about the energy that comes from those situations, and I think to myself, that is such a positive and just energetic vibe that can really, like, fill my soul to the point where I forget about the bad. I forget about, like, all the negative things that might be happening. I do become, like, fully present and engaged in the situation. And I'm able to sort of be that higher version of myself in that instance, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm better connected to myself,
Boom.
right, in those instances of connecting spiritually with somebody else.
Yeah.